see doom coming. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to be talking about Umbrage by Derek Bailey, which is his newest book that I wanted to read sooner, but did finally get to. It's weird if I get to talk about it as well. So the author did send me a copy of this, although Derek Bailey, after I read the first review copy he sent me a while back, I have just told him that he's completely good to just send me or reach out to me about anything he writes, because I've just enjoyed his work so far. So I want to talk about this because Umbrage is not my normal kind of style of read, and I feel like that can be said of a lot of his stuff with it. I feel like you can just tell, like, the art style and looking at it, and when I talk about the description of the book, it might not sound like something that you're normally interested in, but hear me out and let me talk, because Derek Bailey has a way of, I feel like, just surprising me, and his writing style really gets me invested, even if the concept is not something I was immediately on board with. And this one is about a girl, Kayla McIntyre, who starts to have visions of, like, dooms or bad things that are going to be happening in her town. Takes place mostly in high school, and that's kind of the impetus there. She's trying to figure out how to help and how to stop these things from happening. And it already, like I said, sounds like, oh, this is going to be super YA and like high school kids saving the day. And it really isn't. I would say this borders between YA and adult, because it's the kind of book that it's written, and the characters are high schoolers, but it's not really doing a lot of the annoying YA things that I sometimes find in YA books. And so even though the characters are younger, it's still well written and gets you invested in the characters and telling a compelling story with it. And so it's her and then some others who kind of get recruited trying to solve things. There is an overall kind of like bigger plot line that's going on the whole time as well. But this is split up into different short stories. And that's something I've talked about with Derek Bailey, and that was The Voidwalker 2, which was different novellas all put together. This is not quite novellas, it's like a series. He calls it microfiction, I think, where it's a series of these short stories, basically, all happening, one after another, and still related, but each kind of telling its own little piece. And so usually each one is dealing with a vision that she has, and then trying to figure out how to get that resolved. And then also with the bits and pieces of the bigger story that's going on, which I'm not going to spoil. And one thing I feel like he does really well is all of the things that you like fully expect to happen with like the high school kids, and like they just kind of figure everything out. You don't necessarily get that. They feel a lot more realistic because they are younger. They don't really know what to do. They don't always know how to do the best thing or how to make things turn out the way that they want. They do have to get help sometimes. It's not like they just kind of do everything like, oh no, the adults can't help us. We have to do it all ourselves, because always something that annoys me when I read that in books, and you don't get that here. You do get other people involved, and there are times they're not really sure what to do, but it avoids that, and for me, I really appreciated that, because that's just the kind of thing that annoys me. It also does introduce some other really interesting characters who have their own different things going on as you kind of figure out and see, and so there's this the overall story, which he's good at kind of weaving things together into that, I thought was interesting. And so although this really is not my thing at all, and I knew it wasn't going to be from the description, I still found myself really enjoying this. And it's just the way the author writes. I just like his style. I enjoy the way he tells stories, the way he develops characters. There's always a lot more nuance than you might think right off the bat, and sometimes it takes a while to get there. And there are other things he writes in here too that ones can feel realistic and are explored in an interesting way. And it's not like we're just spending all of this time exploring all these little elements of teenagers in high school, but there are some different points where something is happening, and you think like, oh, of course, this is going to be this whole big thing. And like, no, it's there. It's realistic and it makes sense why it's there. But it's also not the focus, and it's not turning it into some melodramatic YA type of thing. I was trying to think if there was a non-spoiler way I could say the specific thing that I'm talking about. But I'll say the aspect in here of basically one character being attracted to somebody that they probably shouldn't be, but still are, is the aspect I'm talking about, that I appreciate the way it was done in this book. And funnily enough, what it reminded me of, although polar opposite in style and genre, but is Crown of Stars, because there is an element there that's also used, and it's not something I feel like that gets explored super often in the way that it was here and in there as well. So I don't want anybody to think that this is going to be like Crown of Stars, because as much as I'd like you to read both of them, they're very, very different. But just with that element. So once again, it feels realistic, and we have younger characters, and this is a simple, fast-reading story, but it's entertaining, and the story overall as well, and it's well nuanced. It includes some. He always puts little Easter eggs to his other series. So if you've read his other books, you'll definitely get that little bits and pieces, which I always enjoy. And they're never like outright or like really in your face. It's just here's a little mention for those who've read my other books, and you get that here, which is cool. As well, but this isn't a super long book by any means. It's like it's a little like 250 pages. But even for, is that right? Oh no, it's more like 270. Sorry, I lied, everyone. I'm sorry. So it's like a little under 300 pages, but just read so fast. I was just kind of flying through here, and because of the fact that it's also a collection of short. Oh, it does say micro series. Actually, it says it in here. I didn't even have to try and remember. It says a micro series. Which is something he does, which I find really interesting. So it is, I think, 7. I'm actually counting this time instead of making up a number yet. 7 short stories. And so you can read them one at a time and kind of go through. And that's what I originally did with his Voidwalker collection. I would read one, and then I'd start reading something else, and then I'd go back and kind of read because of the fact that that's the format, and so it worked. But with that, I ended up just being like, ooh, I really want to find out what happens next, and so I kept reading. And this I just was able to kind of get through really quickly. It was just a nice, quick reading book, nothing like too crazy or dense or over the top, and just something that I did enjoy. So if you, especially, and this is pretty different from his other stuff as well, Voidwalker was definitely different and more on the adult side series-wise, and Digitarum was just kind of a unique book in general that also I enjoyed. So this one I feel like if you like YA type books, I think you would enjoy this, even though it does kind of bridge the gap there. And like I said, this is one of those things where I've read books that are like, oh no, I'm definitely not YA, I'm an adult book, and it's obviously YA, but maybe they try and put some adult themes in there or something to make it go that route. And this is really not that. This isn't really trying to be anything. It's just he's writing the story he wanted to write here, and that's where I feel like it kind of falls in between. I feel like people who like YA and people who don't typically, I think, can still enjoy this. Although, like I said, I gave you the description of the book. I know that's probably not going to be for everyone, but I recommend giving Derek Bailey's books, any of his books, a shot, just because I've enjoyed them, and I don't think I've come out under 4 stars on any of his stuff that I've read so far. It's just all stuff that I have enjoyed for different reasons. He writes some unique stuff, and has an interesting style, and so it's definitely an author I recommend checking out. This is his newer book, but it is out now. Like I said, it took me a while to get to it, so I'll have a link down below where you can find the book. But it was if you're looking for kind of a light read that's still interesting and nuanced and has some interesting elements in a different way, this is a good one to check out for sure. That is it for this one, though. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It was a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.